investigate any associations that these terrorists may have had, and we'll continue to do whatever we have to do to keep our people safe.
All right, and I'll go back to the party.
One thing we do know is that whatever hateful agenda drove these men to such heinous acts cannot prevail. Whatever they thought they could ultimately achieve, they've already failed.
What do you mean they failed?
Because the people of Boston refused to be intimidated.
Oh, that's such rubbish. They were hiding under their beds. What are you talking about?
Refuse to be terrorized.
Oh, God, this is like nauseating.
Waver from
do I have to listen to this? I mean, I'd like to give the man the respect of the office. I can't even do that.
Nor will we break the bonds that hold us together as Americans.
What bonds? What holds us together?
American spirit includes staying true to the unity and diversity that makes us strong.
Oh, yeah. Bring more in. Bring in more from Chechnya. See what? Bring in more from Chechnya to show how a good man you are.
Tweets and blogs.
Yeah.
There's a temptation to latch onto any bit of information, sometimes to jump to
that he was a devout Muslim? I mean, excuse me. Everybody knows that but your FBI.
With public safety at risk and the stakes so high, it's
don't communicate.
We do this right.
We do what right?
That's why we have investigations. That's why
a lot of good. Your investigation did. You had the guy in your investigation 2 years ago and you let him go. That's your investigation.
That's why we take care not to rush to judgment. Not about the motivations of these individuals.
Are you kidding me?
Not about
the guy was a jihadist. What's wrong with you?
After all, one of the things that makes America the greatest nation on earth, but also one of the things that makes Boston such a great city.
Oh, now come up with the Boston Bruins now.
People of every faith, every ethnicity.
Oh, yeah, we heard it before. But not every faith and ethnicity puts bombs in crowds.
Why and how this tragedy happened, let's make sure that we sustain that spirit.
Yeah, well, have a meeting on it. Why don't you have a congressional investigation on it?
Still struggling to recover.
Mr. President, pause the speech for a minute. Mr. President, go to the Drudge Report. You'll see that the dead suspect was a very religious Muslim boxer. Let's go back to the president since he's looking for clues.
Their lives reflected all the diversity and beauty of our
diversity.
Country.
Diversity.
We're sharing
again.
a great American experience together.
What a useless speech.
Finally, let me say that
embarrassment.
Even as so much attention's been focused on the tragic events in Boston, understandably, we've also seen a tight-knit community in Texas.
Here we go again.
Devastated by a terrible explosion.
All love each other. Sing
and I want
them
to know that they are not forgotten. Our thoughts, our prayers.
Oh, you're so inspiring. I don't know what to do. I have tears welling up on my ankle.
Lost their lives. Some.
All right, we can knock it off now. We've heard all we're going to hear. We're going to knock it off now. The FBI admitted Friday they interviewed the now-deceased Boston Marathon bombing suspect, Tamerlan Sonny, of 2 years ago. The FBI interviewed him and failed to find any incriminating information about him, and they let him go. But what you also should know about your PC FBI under Obama is that they had also interviewed several other terrorists before they committed their vile acts and let them go. They had interviewed, for example, your friend, Major Hassan Nadal, before he killed 13 and wounded 32 in Fort Hood, Texas. They had interviewed Carlos Bledsoe in Little Rock, Arkansas, before he shot up an Army recruiting station in 2009. If I'm not mistaken, that was a year after Obama had twisted the mentality of the FBI, the CIA, the U.S. Army, and DHS. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I have no faith whatsoever that they could ever prevent another act like this again. This is a disgrace, by the way, that the president didn't apologize to the people in Boston for having failed them, because that's what would have been appropriate. What he should have said was, my FBI failed you, and it won't happen again. I've given them instructions not to use any political correctness, not to be frightened of violating anyone's religious sensibilities. If we suspect them, we're going to hold them. How's that? It's disgraceful. It's the savage nation, which is not disgraceful. We're going to go back to regular programming. You heard what went on, didn't you? You heard that the aunt is a U.S. citizen, a Canadian citizen, who brought them in there under asylum in the year 2002. She has a huge mouth on her, and she says that it's a setup, that they didn't actually do it. What would you like to say on the Savage Nation today? I have a lot to say. You should also know that it was a tip from the resident, a woman, a housewife, not the president, that led to the capture of Muslim jihadist number 2. And the first thing the psycho-lib reporters asked the Boston police chief after he was taken away was if they waived his Miranda rights. Can you believe this? Former cop, Salem, Oregon. Delfina, welcome. You're up on the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Michael, earlier you asked what kind of a country we live in where the law enforcement officers will have a suspect in custody, a terrorist in custody, and release him back to the public and cause this kind of thing to occur. Well, I was a police officer for 7.5 years, and I can tell you that the kind of country we live in is a free country where we don't arrest people for not committing crimes. And unless they could actually prove...
I feel much better. Tell that to the people who lost their legs in Boston and lost their lives. I'm sure they'll feel great that they live in a free country.
Yeah, well, but I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I'm saying that that's what the price we pay for freedom. We can't arrest people.
Well, I would argue that there's a little way to, shade, you could shade it a little bit. You got a guy who's an active radical Muslim, and you arrest him, and you let him go. Why? You're not expecting him to do it? How about Nidal Hassan in the Fort Hood massacre? He was signaling he was going to do it. Why didn't they stop him?
Well, the only problem is that the officers involved, the FBI officers, the law enforcement people who deal with these folks, they can only work with the laws they have in front of them.
Okay. Well, then we're saying the same thing. I don't blame them. So it's the people at the top. A fish rots from the head down, doesn't it? A fish rots from the head down, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I get it. But
all right. So the poor agents in the field, can't really do their job. They suspect, they fear, they see this, they see that. They can't do anything though, because they're afraid that Eric Holder will arrest them for doing their job. I understand. I understand what a free country is. I understand it very well. But most people don't feel that that's the way this should have gone down. If they interviewed this guy 2 years ago and let him go, they do not feel very good about their FBI, Delfina. I don't think they feel very good about the FBI.
No, I'm sure we don't. I mean, I'm not pleased with the way things went down either. But we can only do what we can do within the law. Law enforcement officers are held.
Well, who writes the laws but psychopathic liberal lawyers?
There you go. That would be the problem.
Okay, so maybe the laws ought to be rewritten a little bit. That if someone has religious fanaticism and shows evidence of hating America, maybe the law could have another clause in it about them.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Wouldn't that be nice? If they have a religious fanaticism of any kind and they hate America, maybe you could write a little sub-clause within the clause about what you might be able to do to detain him before he puts a bomb inside a supermarket next time. By the way, Delfina, do you believe these two animals acted alone?
No, of course not.
Do you agree with me that the cell is probably as large as 20 to 25 people?
I don't know. I don't know how big the cells are, but I know they...
How did they support themselves in America if they were just poor students living in the area? Where'd they get their money from?
Not buying that.
Where'd they get their money from? Who supported them?
Yeah.
Where did they get the money for an apartment, boxing lessons, a car? Who was sending them money?
Well,
Moreover, Delfina, one of them went to Russia and left America in 2012 for 6 months. He went to Russia. Why didn't he get stopped at the border when he returned? Why wasn't he interviewed by the FBI again?
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you what the regulations are for the FBI on returning students with student visas.
Well, we know that they are definitely looking into returning Army veterans. Ask Janet Napolitano what the DHS thinks of returning Army veterans. She has them in her sights, doesn't she?
Well, yeah, isn't that great? I'm an Army vet myself, and I don't appreciate that.
Right, she has returning Army veterans in her sights, devout Christians in her sights, people against abortion in her sights, Tea Party members in her sights, but active proto-jihadists? No way.
Well,
no way. You see, this is in Delfina. This is reverse racial profiling. It's insanity. It is a result of the ultra-liberal mentality that Obama has brought and foisted upon the intelligence agencies. Will this change? I just heard the president's speech. He mentioned the word diversity 2 or 3 times, and I doubt very much that anything will change. In fact, my suspicion is things are going to get worse before they get better. You know all the facts, listeners to the Savage Nation. You've heard them all day long. You know the second one was arrested. They got him out of the boat. He looks pretty badly shot up. We have a picture of him we just got up on michaelsavage.com. He looks like he was shot in the face. I don't know what brand of underwear he's wearing, but no doubt you can see the stripe of the underwear there. It should be up on the site any minute. And what else? What else is going on? Let's see. They've arrested his girlfriend. One of them had a child here in stupid America already. Another one. The aunt has a big mouth. In Toronto, she says that they're innocent, that they were set up. The uncle says that they were set up. You got to listen to the aunt who brought them in under asylum to the country in 2002 in clip 8. Listen to this.
Give me evidence. I'm a lawyer from back home. Give me evidence. I participated in court sessions where I had to prove innocence of other accused people. So, give me evidence. All you showed me, circle face of a man's face in a hat, standing like this. What else?
Okay, well, this is the FBI photo. This is where it's taken from.
Can you look forward?
Okay, what I'm saying is,
Look this way.
why FBI does not give me more if I'm asking? If somebody else is asking, fine. But for me to be convinced that these two nephews of mine committed these kind of atrocities cannot be taken lightly. Convince me.
Mm-hmm. And you notice the reporters, by the way, are better in Canada than they are here. They actually were offended by her lies, and they were challenging her, not like you'd hear in America, would you? They'd bend over backwards here. Now, earlier we heard the uncle calling them a loser. He was actually the only one who made sense. They asked him why they may have done it, and psychologically it makes sense to me. He said they're being losers, hatred for those who were able to settle themselves, meaning make it in America. And that's usually who goes into these religiously fanatic organizations, the losers who can't make it in the country that was so kind to them. So they wrap themselves in religion and a holy book, and they hate everybody around them, women, anyone not of their religion. Who else would do a thing like this? Who else could do a thing like this to innocent people? And then they use a religious doctrine to justify it. And make no mistake about it, you're not going to hear much about that connection to the fact that he was a devout Muslim. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE.